Hi everyone, welcome to our second Rail Safety Week podcast. I'm Elaine Clark, Chief Executive of Rail Forum, and I'm joined today by Jay Shen, who is the Chief Executive and Founder of Transreport. So Jay, welcome. Could we start please by just telling us a little bit about your company?
Thank you, Elaine, for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay, the founder and CEO of Transreport. So at Transreport, our mission is to develop technology to make transport and a wider customer experience more accessible and inclusive. Specifically for rail, we're best known for technology called passenger assistance, which supports people with access needs, such as older customers, disabled individual, or anyone who need a bit of a support when they travel. For me, this work is very personal and also very practical. Rail is not just about moving people from one place to another place. It is really about confidence, independence, and also dignity. If someone does not feel confidence that they will receive the support when they need it, they may decide not to travel at all. That would be a real shame. And that's why I feel accessibility has to be treated as part of the core operation for railway and safety infrastructure. So accessibility shouldn't be treated as add-on.
And I think that ethos is really, really important. And congratulations to you for seeing that, for spotting that need, and not just spotting the need, but acting on it, because it's ever so easy for people to go, oh, we need to do something in this space, and then nothing happens. So big well done to you for setting up the business and actually doing something.
Thank you.
So Rail Safety Week is all about keeping people safe on the railway. That applies to our workforce. And as you've just intimated, it applies to the people that are using the railway. And we often think about passengers and interfaces with trains, so trapping hazards indoors or the gap between the train and the platform. But as you've said, people who have assistance needs, whatever those needs might be, can so easily be forgotten, and they need to feel safe when travelling on the railway, just like everybody else. And things that we take for granted, that I might take for granted, other people would find really, really challenging. So can you tell us a little bit about the product that you've developed and how that helps people who are travelling by rail?
Absolutely. So the passenger assistance platform we developed allows the customer to manage their assistance need for their rail journey in a more consistent and accessible way. What does it mean is, as an individual, you can create your own profile, inputting any information that, including your access need, the support you will need when you travel. And then every time you need to use the railway, you just simply choose the journey detail. And then those information will be taken away by our technology in the back end and facilitate the system integration and share with the relevant train company, station staff, so that they can prepare the resource, the assistance to make sure the passenger get the support when they need it.
Can you give us some examples of the type of support that it would actually support people to get?
Oh, that's a great question. I think in general, when people think about accessibility, by default, people think about people in a wheelchair or people with vision impairment. But actually, it's a very, very wide spectrum. Especially after COVID, we have seen a surge of customers who may have neurodivergent, and they may prefer to travel at a quieter time, avoiding tunnels, so on and so forth. We're also seeing an increase of demand from older passengers who just need a bit of a support when they're navigating the bigger, crowdier stations. The important part for me is when we talk about safety on the railway, yes, physical safety is very, very important. It is the fundamental. But also for many people who have got access need, safety also means psychological safety. It means knowing that somebody is expecting you, is ready to provide assistance when you need it, and their access need, their travel information is not disappearing into some sort of a complex system. And they will feel, oh, maybe I'll be left alone, or I have to try to explain my access need in a public space repeatedly. So when the process works really well, passengers should feel confidence to travel, so they have more control, more visibility, and more assurance. And that confidence, for me, is the fundamental part of feeling safe on the railway.
I think that's really important. And I think you used the word dignity at the start of our conversation. And I think that's really, really important to people. And it's things that like that we take for granted often. And it's not until you're perhaps faced with a situation that you suddenly realise that those are the challenging situations that some people have to face every day. You know, I might fall and break my leg, for example, hope not. And then you realise just what challenges that brings to people. Or you might have an older relative, and as that older relative perhaps starts to suffer with hearing loss, for example, that's when you start to realise, oh, this is actually quite a challenge, and we just take things for granted. I guess the other side of the coin, in a way, that your passenger assistance platform helps are the operating companies that are providing those services. So how does it help the operators?
There are many things we can talk about. So before our technology, the assistance on the railway are often managed through a very manual process. That could mean phone calls between the customer and the call center, and then phone calls sharing the information to the station, or sometimes through email, fax, spreadsheet. So you can imagine it's a very fragmented communication channel between different stakeholders and channels. And many people in the industry worked incredibly hard try to deliver that service. I remember when I first started, this is 8, 9 years ago, I spent a couple of days just witness how the frontline staff deliver assistance at Snow Hill Station. It was a winter. I remember the snow was coming down, and the staff was really passionate about providing a good service, but they were just lacking the information, the tool, the technology to support them. Often we see them just wandering around, trying to find a passenger by the gate or on the platform, and sometimes the train delays will create a lot of chaos and last-minute demand. It was really, really struggling for them. So our platform really try to support the frontline staff. It gives the operator a better visibility of assistance request. It helps the team, the station, the managers to better understand who's traveling, when are they traveling, and most importantly, what assistance, what support they need. And this helps to create a more structured and accountable process. For operators, this is not just about technology for the technology's sake. It helps them to manage demand, support the frontline staff, which is for me the most important, and really, as a result, to reduce the failed assistance and improve customer experience. One thing I'm very proud to share here is the Office for Railroad has done a case study, and they found a 10% uplift in customer satisfaction since the launch of technology. And 2/3 of the customer they surveyed stated that they couldn't travel without our tech. So that's something for us is very, very powerful. This also creates a better data, which is critical for the industry to continue making investment and improvement. But they need to understand where is the pressure point and where the insight can be useful to better organize resource and staffing.
What you've described is, you know, passionate people in the operators who want to be able to offer that really good service. And it's as simple as giving them the tools to do the job as well as they can, it makes them more efficient, and it frees them up to ensure that they're actually providing the end user, the customer, with the service they need, rather than being buried in phone calls and spreadsheets of trying to work out what people need. So in many respects, it sounds really simple, but an incredibly effective tool to really give people that confidence to travel. Just remind me, when did you set up Transreport? How long have you been going?
So the company is almost 10 years old. It's been quite a journey. Uh, I'm from China. I came to this country in 2003. I did my A levels and then university at Warwick University. Did my masters, and I was halfway through my PhD and realized I just can't get it done. And at the same time, I bump into this challenge, which I find is incredible frustrating. And this is sort of the issue that once you've seen, you can't unsee it. It's almost like I have to do something about it. So I quit my PhD, started business. At the beginning, it was really challenging. I have a very limited experience about rail. Um, but I was incredibly lucky to have the industry supporting me along the way. And there are many people along the way. I can't name them all. Every step of the way, I've got this sort of a industry senior leadership really giving me the support to help me and help Transreport to trial the technology, improve the technology, and also meanwhile, I have so many friends from the disabled community constantly giving me guidance to make sure the technology work for the very people we want to serve.
It's an incredible story. It's beyond the scope of the podcast for today, but I think it's probably fair to say that the UK needs more entrepreneurs like you who see what they see and say, I'm going to do something about it. And I suspect you'll have had a lot more satisfaction from doing what you're now doing than you would ever have got from your PhD. And you're not the first person to have said, nah, that's not for me. I'd rather do something else. So well done to you for doing that. Seriously, big well done. So how widely is the platform being used in the UK now after those sort of years of development?
Yes, the passenger assistance platform has been deployed across the GB rail network for several years, and it's to support the entire assistance service for all the train operators. Recently, we also expand into Japan Rail, and later this year, we're also going to onboard another European carrier. We'll also start expanding into other transport mode. What was really encouraging is by working closely with the disabled community as well as the industry. In the last 8 years, I personally have witnessed firsthand the genuine change in terms of the culture and the mentality of and understanding of accessibility. Industry as a whole is very much willing to make investment, moving away from this legacy process that is not fit for purpose anymore, and to streamline the entire process, and in return provide a much better travel experience for people who have access needs. Another example, by working closely with the regulator and the industry, we have managed to reduce the booking window for the railway from 24 hours to 12 hours to 2 hours. That means that in the past, if somebody have to inform the train company 24 hours ahead of the travel, now they only need to get on the app, 3-click, tell the train company 2 hours beforehand, they will be ready to serve you. And this doesn't take away the right that people can just go up to the station, ask for support there and then. That's absolutely fine. But we know there are a group of people out there who prefer to have plan things in advance, have a bit of assurance. But for the majority, especially in the metropolitan city like London, Manchester, we've seen more than 50% the passengers still very used to just go to station. I know there's a member of staff there anyway. I can ask for help. And our technology also supports that in the staff operating system. They can very quickly create a booking on behalf of the passenger, and all the relevant stations will get notified so they know somebody's coming. And that's the power of technology, but it's not for technology's sake. It's really deliver the value for the industry, the frontline staff, but ultimately for the customer.
I think that's an incredible example of the impact that you've had. From 24 hours to 2 hours is amazing.
I completely understand that there are so many more things we could do to continuously improve the travel experience on the GB railway network. But I do want to share some of my observations. If we look across the European continent, most European countries will still require passenger to book at least 24 hours in advance, where the GB rail moving from 24 now to 2 hours. That's a massive step change. And obviously you can understand this creates a lot of, demand on the frontline staff, culture change, training, but the technology played a significant role to support that change. So while as a part of the industry, I recognize there's so many things still need to be better. I think sometimes we should take a step back, really see that we are leading in terms of making the big shift in the railway industry.
And I think that's a really, really good point that we're often very self-critical and we want to be the best, and that's absolutely fine. But we also need to recognise where we are leading and where others could learn from us. And I think that's a really, really fair point. You mentioned that you were starting to expand overseas, and you mentioned Japan. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? And is Japan your main focus, or have you got sites on other parts of the world?
Yes. So about 2 years ago, we start get a lot of inbound inquiries coming from many other countries. And at the time, it was really difficult to see where shall we go. But we want to put a challenge to ourselves. Japan Rail, probably one of the most efficient, best run, and in terms of customer service, is probably, again, one of the best in the world. And we thought ourselves that if we can make our technology work in Japan Rail, then we know that it can really scale across the world. And it was a huge challenge. Expanding to Japan wasn't easy. As a country, it's very remote, time difference, all of that. But also, they tend to have this tendency to work with other Japanese companies. With a foreign company, they're also a little bit hesitating. Not to mention, we are a foreign startup, which again, not typical partner you will find in Japan Railway. But after 18 months of hard work, trialing with the local customers, I think in the end, it was the local disabled customer who's telling the train company that we want this and we want this now. As a result, that we now have a few Japanese railway company already using our technology, and later this year we have even more train companies onboarding to our tech. Japan has got probably the highest percentage of aging population, and it's a very comprehensive railway network. So it really put our technology to the test. So far, I'm glad to say that we're seeing a genuine impact we're making there. But for us, UK is home. And for me, this place is very special for me. I have, over the years, created such incredible relationship with the industry and with the local disabled community. I want to make sure that doesn't matter whether it's Japan or another European countries, whether it's Australia, we're also expanding to. UK is our home. We want to bring the best technology here, but we can't achieve this just by ourselves. We need to work with industry, the government, and also other companies, whether it's a big corp or other startups. I really urge them to all look into this space because there's so much potential.
I think it's a fascinating story that you have to share, Jay. And from startup to the world really is your oyster with your technology. It's great that the UK is leading, and it's great to see you out there being so successful in bringing your technology to other parts of the world as well. That will help countless more passengers. I think I've exhausted my questions for you. Have you got any final thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
Yes, I think this is one point. I think there's no shy away from this. As an industry, we all know that the GBR is coming. And I think for most of us and most of my customers, they couldn't wait for the GBR to set a new standard, new structure, more consistent, more customer-centric. However, what I would emphasize is the priority should be continuous improvement rather than wait for GPR to be fully established. The railway is definitely going through a significant reform, and I'm sure GBR will have great ambition and to have a much better, higher standard for customer experience. But disabled people really need continuous improvement, and now, not the future. That means I urge the Department for Transport, the DFTO, RDG, Rail Delivery Group, and all the industry partners. We all have a role to play in this, and we play this now. We need continuous investment. We need continuous operational focus and the collaboration. Accessibility improvement cannot pause and wait for GBR. In fact, this is exactly the moment, I would say, to keep the momentum going so that when GBR is formally structured, it has a much better progress rather than having to restart the whole conversation again. So for Transreport, we want to keep working with industry leaders to improve a service. And I'm very glad to say that through my conversation, whether it's with GBR, GBRTT, DFTO, the senior leaders at Rail Delivery Group, such as Jack, Jay Shen, they all echo the same thing that let's continue to invest and improve in this program because disabled customers deserve a better experience.
I think that's a really positive note to end on. And I would echo that. We mustn't wait. We're often told as an industry not to wait for GBR. So I think you have a classic example of where we must push on because our disabled passengers do deserve better. I think that's been a fascinating chat, Jay. I've really enjoyed listening to your story because you don't just tell your story with passion. It's got real meaning for so many people in terms of how it's making their lives and their journey. So thank you, Jay. I've very much enjoyed our conversation, and I hope our listeners enjoy listening as much as I've enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you, Elaine, for having me. Thank you, everyone.